Okay, so next we gotta learn about the chain rule, which is the first concept covered in Unit 3. And you use the chain rule when you are trying to differentiate composite functions or functions where multiple functions are going on at the same time. So, for example, if you look at all of these functions, you'll see that there's multiple functions going on in each, right? So a compound function is f of g of x, right? So there's an outside function and an inside function. So if you look at all of these functions, they all have an outside function, or f, and an inside function, or g. Like, for example, sine x squared, right? Sine x is the outside function, or f of x, and x squared is the inside function, or g of x. If you look at this one, you can see that all of this being raised to the power of 4 is the outside function, or the f of x, and all this on the inside is the inside function, or the g of x. And on this last one, there's actually a couple functions going on, because there's all of this being raised to the power of 2, and then there's sine, and then there's 7x, right? So this one we'll label as f of x being the outside, or something being raised to the power of 2, and then g of x is going to be the sine x, and then this inside here, we'll call it h of x, is a 7x. So this one, there's 3 layers, and we'll go over how to do that too. So once you decide which is your outside function, which is your inside function, you use this formula right here, right? D over dx, which just means the derivative of f of g of x, is f prime g of x times g prime x. So all this means is that you derive the outside function first, right? F of x, and you keep the inside the same, g of x. And then you multiply it by the derivative of the inside function. So the outside you derive, you keep the inside the same, and then you multiply it by the derivative of the inside. So let's look at our examples that we have. So sine x squared, right? The outside function is sine x. So if we derive that, we get cos, and then we keep this inside the same because we don't change it, because we're only looking at the outside function first. Times, and then we derive the inside function, g of x, we get x squared, which when you derive it is 2x, right? So then you're left with cosine x squared times 2x. You can simplify this and write 2x cos x squared, and this is your answer. You derive the outside, keep the inside the same, multiply it by the derivative of the inside. Okay, next let's look at this middle one right here. Our outside function is something being raised to the power of 4, right? So to derive that first, you bring the 4 down in front. 4, you keep the inside the same, you don't touch it. 4x3 plus 27x, and then to the power of 3 because we're subtracting one, this derivative, times the derivative of the inside, which is the inside of this right here. We derive that. You're going to get 12x squared plus 27. You can leave this answer as is, or we can simplify it more if it's on like a multiple choice, and you'd have to multiply this 12 and this 27 by the 4, and you would get 48x squared plus 108 times 4x3 plus 27x to the power of 3. No one expects you to multiply this out with this exponent, so this answer here is going to be the simplest form that they ever give you. Now for this last one, it's a little bit harder. We said that f of x is something to the power of 2. We said that g of x is sine something, right? And h of x equals 7x. So we're doing the exact same thing that we did before. We differentiate the outside first, which is this whole thing being raised to the power of 2. So we have 2, and we keep the inside the same, we don't touch it. So we have sine 7x, and the 2 goes away because 2 minus 1 is power 1, right? So we don't have to write that. Times, and then we have to derive the inside of this, right? And since it's a composite function again, we have to use the chain rule again. So we're going to do the derivative of the outside function, right, first, which is sine, and then we keep the inside the same. So the derivative of sine is cosine, and then we keep 7x the same. And if we're deriving the inside, and it's the chain rule, and we just did the sine x, then we have to do the 7x, right? And we're multiplying it by the derivative of 7x, which is just 7. So you just go layer by layer by layer by layer by layer. We started with the very outside layer, which was to the power 2, kept the inside the same, and then multiplied it by the derivative of the inside, which is sine 7x, it's cosine 7x, and then the derivative of the very inside, which is just 7. We could simplify this and we can multiply it out. We get 14 sine 7x cos 7, and this is going to be your answer. So we're going to go over a couple more practice problems because chain rule is kind of a lot. But yeah, you just step by step, outside, inside, or if there's multiple, then you go outside and then middle and then inside, or if there's 4, you go outside, slightly outside, inside, inside, right? You just keep going layer by layer by layer by layer by layer until you're done. So up on the screen, I got 2 more practice problems. You can try pausing it now. First one is easier than the second one. Pause it now, try to solve them. If you still don't get it, then I'm gonna go over them. I'm gonna go over them right now. So the first one, you have this outside function here, labeled f of x. It's 2 something power 2, right? Doesn't matter what's inside. It's just jibber jabber. We could write x, we could write z, we could write anything. G of x is an inside function. It's 1 plus 4x. We go outside first. We derive the f function. So we bring this 2 down in front. We have negative 4, 1 plus 4x, because we keep the inside the same. Times, and then we derive the inside function here. We get 4. So then we simplify this. We get negative 16, 1 plus 4x. And this is your answer. If you wanted to multiply it out and distribute it, you could, but it's easier to just leave it like this. And now if we look at our second equation here, sine 3x plus 7 times 14x4 plus 18. This one's a little bit more complicated, but we see that our outside function, or f, is sine of something, right? Our inside function g is this whole inside function here, which is 3x squared plus 7 times 14x4 plus 18. So, using the chain rule, you derive f first and you keep the inside the same, right? So you have cosine, and then keep the inside the same. 3x squared plus 7, 14x4 plus 18, times, and then you derive the inside. And if you wanted to, you can multiply this out and then derive it like normal, or you could just use the product rule, which is f prime g plus g prime f. So we'll label this f, we'll label this g, and f prime is 6x times g plus, and then g prime f. If you derive g, you get 56x to the third times 3x squared plus 7. Now, if you really wanted to, you can multiply this out, but you don't really have to simplify anything in calculus, so you could just leave it as is. Also, I doubt they're going to give you a question this long. You should know how to do it, just in case. Yeah, so that's it with the chain rule, so we're moving on.